Hey everybody, welcome back to NESN Around, NESN.com's podcast about nothing, but also about everything, or whatever it is we want to call it.
Makes you think.
It does make you think. I'm NESN.com's Mike Cole. This is NESN.com's Ricky Doyle, and for the next however long we decide we want to talk about, we're going to talk about things that have to do with sports. Makes a lot of sense. Considering we're a sports network, that's a sports website. Yep. Lots of sports entities. We're going to talk about the sports.
We're going heavy on the hoops this week.
Though. Yeah, a lot of basketball talk.
Kind of mapped it out. We got a lot of hoops, to get to.
If you're offended by basketball, you can just turn it off now. We already have your view anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but you never know, because we're going to make predictions later, too.
I got some stuff.
So we'll circle back around other crap, too. So it's not going to be just basketball.
You know, basketball is it's dominating the headlines at the moment. Before that, though, we are going to get into last week's show. We do this every week. We revisit our predictions. Why don't you start? What was your prediction?
Mine was pretty generic. I said there'd be a fight in baseball.
Wow!
But then I also narrowed it down to it said that there was be a fight in the Orioles National Series that contrived a rivalry, the Beltway series that they're trying to make into something, which I can't really wrap my head around, but. That didn't happen. Nope. It wasn't a brawl in that series. Pretty good series though.
It was a good series.
A couple come from behind wins, some rallies. You had Matt Wieters coming up with a big hit against his former team. And I should also add though that this prediction, I'm not so sure we can close the book on it because the last game was rained out. So we might have to keep this open until June 8th, which is the scheduled date to make a clear determination on that. But all things are trending in the wrong direction as far as that prediction goes.
Fair enough. That's I'll give you that.
Series though, two good teams.
It would be an awesome World Series.
Yeah, I'd like it.
There's a lot of bombastic personalities in that, and two very good teams. So we'll see. My prediction was that we would have a week full of Game 7s. Every series that was still open would have won 7 games. It took no more than 6 hours for that to be proved wrong. I think that was right before the Rockets Spurs.
It was a good run.
That got out of hand.
How about that game?
That was ugly.
What the hell was that?
That's another thing too. It's got buried. The James Harden concussion, point shavings, whatever you want to say. Was the issue.
That's a good conspiracy theory. That fit in well. Ties in nicely to what we're going to be talking about.
Which we will get into a little bit more. But I was wrong. A couple of those games went 7, including a couple of series went 7 games, including the Celtics and Wizards. And speaking of these Celtics, that's called a segue. We'll use that to jump into the NBA draft lottery.
Segue. I ain't talking about those things you're driving around, you know.
Tuesday night, yeah, they did the old ping pong ball thing. I was watching it with my fiance. She made a good point. She's like, "Really, they ping pong balls for this?" And it is a kind of an interesting point. Really, just we'll get into this.
It beats a frozen envelope. I guess.
It is crazy that that there are. It's ping pong balls, and just a whole huge combination of numbers really helps determine the fate of these teams in the long run. Do you like the draft lottery? Is it both in terms of like using it to determine draft order and just the lottery itself, like the whole spectacle?
The whole spectacle. It's one of those things where I watch it. It's kind of mindless, especially if you don't have a rooting interest. But I find myself watching it, and I kind of feel guilty after the fact because I'm like you said, I just watched a bunch of ping pong balls. Like basically, I watched I didn't even watch the balls. I watched the guy tell me what the result of ping pong balls, which is even worse.
The actual lottery thing itself is done already. Like that's over.
Yeah,
like, it's just
I'm just looking at a guy holding up envelopes.
Yeah.
And a bunch of the most random collection of characters you could probably come up with. I mean, look at on stage the top 3, and you got Wick Grossbeck, Magic Johnson, and Joel Embiid.
I like that though.
I mean, I'm big on novelties. So,
yeah,
I like that aspect of it, the whole weird pageant, the pageantry, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I guess you would call it pageantry.
So I'm in on it a little bit, and obviously I like it a lot better. And when I do have some sort of, I guess, interest in it, obviously the local ties with the Celtics this season, I just feel, even in general, even if I wasn't a Celtics fan, I just think that's a pretty intriguing storyline in general. As far as using the lottery to determine draft order, I get it, but I still think it could use some tweaking because I don't think it's getting to the heart of the issue, which obviously is to prevent tanking. Because I think the teams are still tanking anyways. I mean, Mark Cuban even admitted that once Dallas was out of playoff contention, they pretty much mailed it in. So I don't think it's really solving much. But it's an interesting little wrinkle.
I think it's better than nothing. Like
it is, and I think that's basically what Cuban said. He's like, well, until you come up with a better, a good fix here, and it's basically the best we got.
And, I've heard theories like using using it as like there's a cutoff date or something where like the games only matter until a certain point or after a certain point when you're determining the lottery, which is a little confusing. But I mean, it couldn't have been any more confusing than Tuesday night when it's like the lottery itself. The order is ever changing as they're announcing it because one team falls out of here. They kept showing Joel Embiid, and he was like, I have no idea if I should be happy or sad.
He's just nodding his head. Yeah, you got the asterisk at the bottom of the screen and basically tell you, if it's such and such, you're gonna swap. If it's such and such, you. So
I'm glad that I'm glad they have it because I think the two sports that have the lottery right now, the NBA and the NHL, I think those are the easiest sports to tank in. So you need something to kind of at least try to deter it. I also think that there's something I like that you can trade your picks without knowing your spot in the lottery too, which made this whole Celtics thing so fascinating. And that's the thing. Like the NBA draft, maybe more so than any other draft, it's the lead up to the draft that's the best part. Even from the NBA trade deadline on, through the lottery, up until the draft, the excitement is in the rumors. And so you have teams making, do the Celtics trade that pick at the deadline or they hold on to it? And they held on to it and it ended up working out. But the fact that you can go make a blockbuster trade like that and get the right to swap picks and do things like that, not knowing where it's necessarily going to fall, is one of the most fascinating things I think in sports right now. And that's what added another layer of intrigue for me Tuesday night is this is the fruit. This is all Danny Ainge's plan coming to fruition. And it was fascinating. And that's the thing. For a half hour last night, I was glued to the TV to watch ping pong balls.
Right.
I do think it's a really cool event. I like it a lot. There's something about the aesthetics of it too, opening envelopes and seeing logos and waiting for your logo.
It's got a game show type of feel to it.
Yeah, I like it a lot for something that is incredibly mundane.
Yeah, and maybe. So here's the thing, because I agree with you. I like the, somewhat, it's a little mystique, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but the fact that you're trying to eliminate tanking and you're adding that element of, what pick do you have at the end of the year. But so maybe it could be as simple as tweaking the percentages to include more teams. Because right now, basically, if you have the worst record in the NBA, you have a 25% chance, I think it is, to get the number one seed, the number one pick. And you can't fall any lower than fourth. So maybe if you just expand the guidelines a bit, I'm not going to say, I don't want to say include 20 teams in the lottery or give everybody the same amount of percentages because I think maybe that'll defeat the purpose a little bit. But I just maybe, like I said, open it up a little bit more, have more teams potentially have a chance at the number one pick.
What if you gave the second highest odds to the team that finishes 17th in the NBA? So the first team out of that team gets rewarded for playing its ass off all year.
Falling just short.
So your reward for actually playing.
I just think that there's something there that you can do with the percentages. And I also think the more teams that you have that can move up in the lottery, I think it's a good thing. Yeah. Because if you're a fringe team and you're kind of, you're trying to take that next step, if you have a chance of getting better chance of getting a top 3 pick, I think that's better for the league because, we've seen across the league, just trying to build super teams now. Right. And I just feel like the lottery is kind of you can use that as a vehicle maybe to, infuse some more parity in the league, which I'm sure we're going to get to with the Celtics Cavs thing. Parity is an issue.
Yep.
So anything that I think can just spread out the talent a little bit more would be, ideal.
And if you give those other teams the better teams in the lottery more chances at the number one pick, maybe that dissuades teams from Philadelphia to really just tank this whole trust the process. We're gonna suck for as long as we can, in order to maybe get lucky at the lottery. And it's if you take that opportunity away from them, maybe they work on getting their team better through other means as opposed to sucking and hoping you get lucky. So although it's a star-driven sport, so it's tough. It's just a really I don't know. I'm glad we don't have to make that decision.
Yeah.
One decision we will make is for the Boston Celtics. We'll make the Celtics decision for them, or at least discuss it. I don't think we're in a position to make those decisions. Celtics, number one pick. 97, they had the best chances. They didn't get it. 2007, they were second best. Didn't get it. So maybe you're thinking, this unlucky
something
sevens. But no, they get it, which I thought was just a great moment of TV. I can't... even not to be a homer, you can't help but be excited for the Celtics because they've done this rebuild the right way, and now what a 24 hours. This is something where we could look back on and be like, the 24 hours that sent the Celtics back to stardom.
Yeah.
Like, now they start, they go from winning a Game 7, winning the lottery, to starting the conference finals. That's pretty
Paul
pretty
Pierce
wild.
nailed it with the tweet, too, saying a little parting gift on my way out the door.
I didn't understand that.
What do you mean?
I thought the internet made like a big deal out of that tweet. I didn't think it was that funny. What did he do?
Nothing. But
I know, that's my point. It's like, why?
Yeah, but it
just kind of felt like Paul Pierce making himself part of the story.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it because
I'm a Paul Pierce guy.
Yeah, I am too. I just thought like the internet fell over itself. It was like, it's just an old man's tweet.
Witty little tweet. I mean,
I guess.
In an age of where 99.9% of the crap on the internet is useless. Whatever.
Sure.
I'll take that. I'll take that over some rant about some political issue that I couldn't give two craps about.
Speaking of useless stuff on the internet, what do we do with what do the Celtics do? What do we think the Celtics should do?
I'm making the pick. I know it's gonna be tossed around whether they should trade it, go out and get a star. I mean, Jimmy Butler and Paul George feel like they're probably gonna be the two names again. Just feel like we've been hearing this ad nauseum at this point. But I'm making the pick, and I'm taking Markelle Fultz, and then I'm diving into free agency. I just feel like that's the logical play. That seems to be the easiest route, and I also think it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is really lame because I agree 100%, and I wasn't necessarily on that.
I tried to talk myself out of it.
If someone blows your socks off, and again, I wrote about this today. Go to NESN.com/Celtics. I wrote about like this dream scenario where the Celtics go out of their way, spend the next month saying how much they love Lonzo Ball, and try to get the Lakers to buy it.
Yeah, a little Mitch Trubisky type deal.
Right, and get the Lakers to trade up just that one spot. Maybe you get a roster player out of it. You just flip, you trade picks. You get an extra player out of it, maybe another asset. Because you know that they're taking Lonzo Ball, the Lakers are. So try to somehow fleece them, and then you get Fultz at 2. Like the Lakers get...
Unfortunate thing, by the way. It's just the worst time to be a Laker fan.
Well, there's no good time to be a Laker fan, but that's neither here nor there. That's for other reasons that we're going to disagree on. That's our producer, Andre Kacharian, making his opinion known. But, that was, if there was a loss for the Celtics Tuesday night, it was that the Lakers got 2. But that's a little bit of a digression. I'm with you. If somebody's going to blow your socks off, obviously you make the move. If somebody's comes, but I don't think at this point, Jimmy Butler or Paul George in their situations now with their contracts, both going to be free agents relatively soon, especially George. And George has made it known he wants to play in Los Angeles or stay in Indiana. Like, that's not worth risking Markelle Fultz for. You know what I mean? So keep him. You still have Brooklyn's pick in 2018 too.
And that's my thing. If you go out and you trade this pick for, say, Jimmy Butler, is adding Jimmy Butler to your team now, do you leapfrog Cleveland? Are you better than Cleveland? I'm not sure. I don't think you are.
You go from losing this series in 5 games to
you're
losing
not
in
making
6.
up any ground whatsoever.
You're
stagnant.
You're getting maybe 1 game in a 7-game series.
Yep. And so you're going nowhere. You are at the point right now where you can go no further without leapfrogging the Cavaliers. So any move you make, I feel like you should have to have with the idea in the back of your head, is this move am I gonna be able to overtake Cleveland with this move? And I don't think the Jimmy Butler move makes it, but I think if you pick Fultz, you sign a free agent, you're extending your window a little bit. I think that's why you make the pick, because I think you make that pick with the idea that we might be able to beat Cleveland in 3 years.
Here's the thing.
3 years.
You're out waiting LeBron. Now you're just like, that sucks, but that's what you're doing. You're waiting for LeBron to fall off.
I understand that the logic,
sucks,
immediately you think they have a window now because you are the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, as crazy as that still is to me, based on, especially looking at the odds for this Eastern Conference Finals. But so you think, okay, our window's now. I'm not so sure it is. Wow. I think your window, if you're the Celtics, might be 2-3 years from now, or 3 years. When you look at, if you get a guy like Fultz, by then you know what he is. You've got
a decision whether you keep him and Thomas. You move on from Thomas.
You get to see what you have there. You also have Jaylen Brown, who in theory should be in his prime by then. You also have, as you mentioned, Brooklyn's pick next year. Then you got this Yabusele guy coming over. Your draft and stash guys start to play a factor in this, and you just, I don't know. I don't think you need to necessarily go out and make this the off season to be all off seasons.
Right.
I understand that's kind of the knee jerk thing around here, and that's why where you are.
And it's even more of a knee-jerk thing because that's what you've been waiting for, is to get this 1 pick, and then that's going to set everything in motion? Not necessarily.
Yeah, I just think there's more layers to it than all of a sudden this flipping this pick into a legitimate superstar. I just don't see how going on and getting a Jimmy Butler or Paul George makes you surpass Cleveland in the East.
Well, they're going to get better this summer. They're just not going to get good enough, and it's part of the process. And I do think you keep the pick, you make the pick, you take Fultz, see what you have in him. You're probably, like, if it's a sure thing that the Lakers are going to draft Lonzo Ball. Like, that's the biggest sure thing of this entire offseason, I think. I don't care what they say about De'Aaron Fox. The second biggest sure thing is that Gordon Hayward's going to sign with the Celtics. I think that's – so now you're adding Hayward into that mix. And now you're going forward with a mix of Thomas, Hayward, Horford, Fultz, Brown. That's pretty good. That also, if you take Fultz and he looks like the real deal, now you can trade Avery Bradley because Fultz's ceiling is a better Avery Bradley, a better offensive Avery Bradley.
And that's another thing you got to factor in is they have a pretty interesting free agent class coming up. As you mentioned, Thomas is going to be a free agent. Bradley's going to be an unrestricted free agent at the next season. So they have decisions they have to make with regards to their current roster, too.
And then, that's the thing, too. And so, let's say they do all of that, and now you've got Bradley and Smart, maybe even Crowder, the odd guys out. You can still package those guys, depending on cap room, with the Brooklyn pick in 2018 and still make a spot. Like, you could still conceivably, I don't know if you can fit under the cap, but that's how you go get your George or your Butler. You could do that, too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of options.
I don't know. I just feel like at this point, I agree with the sentiment that you need kind of a transcendent player in this league. You know what I mean? A legitimate star. I'm not so sure that that guy's available to the Celtics right now, outside of maybe Fultz is that guy.
Yep.
I mean, we don't know. He could come in the league and he could be, an absolute stud. He could be that guy to put him over the top. So I would take I think that's more likely to happen than, going out and getting some guy who you say is more of a known quantity to completely change the East. I just think you're better off taking the gamble with the guy that you can get number one, because then you get him under control for a while. And I'm not sold that the Isaiah Thomas contract negotiations, which are a whole different story. I mean, we don't even do they want to keep him long term? I mean, it's a lot of money to shell out to a guy who plays no defense, and at the end of the day is a 5'9" point guard. You really want to be paying him $40 million when he's 34. I mean, so that's an interesting layer, and I just think that I'd like to see those two work together next season. Just kind of take another year to see what you have, and then go from there.
Yeah, take stock of it. Real quick, winners and losers. Do you have anybody stand out?
Well, I mean, the Lakers obviously are the obvious choice as a winner here, simply because of their night could have been in shambles.
Could have been a disaster.
It could have been, and this lens, they had a 53% chance of slipping to 4th, 5th, or 6th, at which point they would have lost the pick altogether. And then I think they also would have been forced to send their 2019 first-round pick away as part of the deal. So this thing could have really imploded on them. But it didn't, obviously, and now, LeVar Ball speaking into existence, Lonzo ended up in LA. It seems like, as you mentioned, a pretty foregone conclusion. So I'd say they're probably a winner. I mean, Fultz, you get to go join a contender right away if the Celtics go that avenue. I mean, if you're sitting there and you're in his shoes, I'd be pretty excited about that.
Lakers and the Ball family, just in general. I think.
What about Sam Hinkie?
Yeah,
trust the process. He can sit there and at least have a little vindication of it's kind of like it's probably going to be bittersweet, but it's like that's
well, it's going to be even better when maybe for some reason De'Aaron Fox goes 2 to the Lakers. Maybe the Lakers just screw this, and then Ball.
Which
falls
if I'm the Lakers, that's the pick I'm making.
Ball falls to 3, and then he just totally screws up the Sixers. That would be great. In terms of losers, the Brooklyn Nets are always going to be losers, and they were losers once again of this. So.
Definitely the Nets. I think the Kings. I mean, it's hard to argue with a team that has, I think, the 5th and 10th pick they came away with, but they haven't had a top 3 pick in their 11 straight seasons in the lottery, and they also had that you want to talk about a garbage trade. I mean, they traded away basically a salary dump, and the right to swap picks came back to haunt them. So they could have had 3rd. Now they have 5th. I mean, not huge, but still, I don't know, kind of set you back a little bit.
Talking draft lottery, got to talk sports conspiracies. 85, the first draft lottery. People supposedly there's the
frozen envelope
conspiracy theory out there that the envelope was frozen in order for the Knicks to get the first pick in the draft.
It's genius.
The Knicks did get the first pick in the draft. They took Patrick Ewing and thus started really just a commissionership long conspiracy theory for David Stern. So there's a handful of good sports conspiracy theories.
Do you think that the draft lottery is rigged? You think
Yeah, I do think
so.
I do think so.
Yeah. I mean,
it makes all sense in the world.
It really does, and it just there's so many instances you can point to. You get the Cleveland right before LeBron came back to Cleveland, they land the number 1 pick. 2 months later, LeBron's there. You get an asset to go trade and get Kevin Love. It's just stars have aligned really, really weird.
Like if the Knicks had somehow found themselves into like the top 3 last night, that would have been
2014. Cavaliers had a 1.7% chance of winning. They're the 9th worst record. You get the number 1 pick, and then LeBron comes home. It's some funny business.
What's one sports conspiracy theory you want to believe? Doesn't have to necessarily be true, but
that I want to believe.
Because I got a couple. I like these a lot.
All right, why don't you kick us off?
Mine, I'm going with. There's a conspiracy theory out there that Cal Ripken Jr. once, he had his consecutive game streak played.
Iron Man.
One night in August of '97, they had to postpone an Orioles game because the lights weren't working. There was some electrical malfunction. The conspiracy theory is this: the Orioles intentionally screwed the lights to get the game postponed because Cal Ripken, who was friends with Kevin Costner, came home, and at the same time Cal Ripken was having
does not surprise me.
Cal Ripken was having marital problems with his wife. The story goes, Ripken came home, found his wife in bed with Kevin Costner, was so upset he could not play. There's even story out there that says that he beat the hell out of Costner, and that was, led to an arrest. I'm coughing now. Snopes said it didn't happen. It's been, but I want it to be true.
I think Costner came out right after, went on a rant too on the radio, basically shutting it down. It's like a Hulk Hogan, Bubba the Love Sponge type of scenario, minus the footage
and the racism.
Yeah, well, that too. Yeah, I guess this is one that I was thinking of is the whole Super Bowl power outage. Super Bowl 47, I believe it was, the Ravens and 49ers. Ravens basically kicking the crap out of the 49ers into the second half. And then it was Ray Lewis that, maybe I think it was Ray Lewis or Terrell Suggs, and both of them actually, that came out and basically questioned whether the NFL had a hand in that. You can try to figure out what the rationale would be behind that, maybe to stop the game, give San Francisco a little reset, or more or less just draw people to the game. If there's a power outage, I'm flipping it on just to see what the hell's going on. I want to see chaos. So just the idea of Roger Goodell running up to a little generator outside and yelling at some guy, some entry-level employee to pull the plug, I don't know. I want to believe that.
Yeah.
I want to believe that because it just adds to the kind of the legend of Roger Goodell and just his little weaseliness.
That is a good one.
Bloody Sock's a good one too. Kurt Schilling, Bloody Sock.
I also really like
picturing him manipulating his footwear.
Michael Jordan really just basically forced from the game because of his gambling. So that's the whole baseball thing. Yeah, who knows?
There's a lot of good ones out there.
All right,
anything that has to do with food poisoning.
That's a good one too. Or just poisoning
in
general.
Really, any food poisoning ethic, because just the idea of another human going over and little some pellets in the old mac and cheese or something. Just I don't know. Just gives me a little tickle.
We've already talked a lot about the Celtics, but we're going to continue to talk about them. Eastern Conference Finals starts Wednesday at TD Garden in Boston. The Celtics, at least for Game 1, are 4-point underdogs. Literally nobody on ESPN.com is picking them to win this series. And we go back a month, about a little more than a month. Celtics, a week after getting their doors blown off by the Cavs. Cavs won 3 out of 4 against the Celtics this year. Wick Grossbeck, Celtics owner, said on WEI, "I don't think we're as good as Cleveland. If we got a chance to play them in the postseason, I'd love to see it, but I'm not sure how it would turn out." He also said LeBron dominated us. Have to give him a ton of credit. Showed us that we've got a long ways to go. Do you like the honesty there, and do you think that he's right? Do they have no chance, basically?
I think he's right, but I mean, even at the time, I don't think not a whole lot was made of these comments.
Right.
But I mean, when I was reading it in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's a good chance that these two teams are going to meet each other. And I'm not saying he's going to all of a sudden regret those words, but I'm like, it's just a kind of a weird message to send. I mean, unless it's a little reverse psychology of kind of, some motivation here, even one of our owners doesn't believe in us sort of thing, which I don't think. I think that's reading too much into it. But yeah, I mean, I was scratching my head a little bit as to I was thinking ahead of time, like, this could come back to bite him a little bit.
I think there's part of it, too, is like, I think Wick is probably a little bit scared to say anything. After a few years ago, he promised fireworks on draft night, and then the Celtics didn't really do anything. So maybe, trying to temper expectations a little bit. I like the honesty, I guess. It's, it is what it is. And like I said, he's probably not wrong. Like, that's the thing, we sit here and, like, lament the fact that nobody's picking the Celtics, but, like, it's kind of hard to see how they're going to win this series. That's the flip side of it, too.
If he comes out and says, I think 100% we're going to beat the Cavaliers, then it's just like, well, what can you believe?
Right.
Because this guy's obviously throwing crap at the wall. So, I don't know. It's a tough spot for him. But, yeah, I certainly, if I was a member of the Celtics and I'm listening, I'm like, it kind of sucks that this guy doesn't even believe in us.
Is there any chance the Celtics, I don't even know how to put this, like,
see,
do you think, like,
I've tried so hard to convince myself that they have a shot in this series. I'm pulling the LeVar ball, speaking it into existence, because it's just so boring. And this is an issue with the NBA.
Yeah.
You are one step away from the NBA Finals. You're one of the final 4 teams in theory, you should be one of the best 4 teams, although obviously the Eastern Conference sucks compared to the West Conference, whatever. But in theory, you should be one of the best 4 teams in basketball. You're giving absolutely no shot whatsoever in the series to potentially get to the finals. That's an issue.
Yeah,
that does suck. And I think a series between Cleveland and Golden State would be a good series. I think that once you get to that point, it's probably good for basketball. I think it's pretty intriguing. But to get to that point, it just sucks.
It's weird that we accept this so openly. Like, imagine the conference championships in football. If every year it was 2 teams destined for the Super Bowl, and it was like the conference championships, each game of the spread was like 2 touchdowns, maybe even 3.
Like, even the Patriots at the height of their, shellacking teams, you could still make a case that the other team's going to win. Even if the Patriots are favored by 2 touchdowns or 10 points or whatever, you could sit there and say, if they do, X, Y, Z, there's a chance they could beat the Patriots.
You remember I gave some excellent points about the Browns beating the Pats this year?
It worked out well.
Yeah. It would be even more excellent if you didn't wear cutting out, as you were saying there. But, so no, that's, like, you can understand that. Now, like, there's literally nothing to, there's certain things you can point to say if the Celtics do this, maybe they can make a series of it. But there's not one thing I look at and say, if they do this, they got a shot at winning the series.
If LeBron gets hurt, they have a shot at winning the series.
Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas averages 45 points per game. They have a shot of winning this series. If Cleveland just goes historically cold, they got a shot of winning this series.
It's just the idea of beating them 4 times. That is such a daunting task when you're that overmatched.
And you probably have to do the same thing you did against Washington and win all 4 games at home. I think the one thing that you look at is, like, Cleveland's defense maybe not that good. They were 22nd in defensive rating this year, 22nd in defensive rebound percentage, 24th in second chance points allowed, middle of the pack fast break defense, 19th in opponent points in the paint. But, like, they didn't care in the regular season.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
They're conceded the number 1.
And in all of those stats in the playoffs, they're 4th, 6th, 5th, 4th, and 11th. So they've turned it on. They kept enough in the tank and just are pushing it all the way now.
I do think the series could be more interesting maybe than some people are giving it credit for.
Yeah, I agree.
think the Celtics could be a huge pain in the ass.
Yep.
And
they could lose. They could get swept and lose each game by like 5 points.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think that maybe they get blown out 1 game or 2 games, but I think they'll keep it close pretty much through. I could see the series going 6.
It would be,
and that would be a huge win if you're the Celtics.
If it gets to 6 games, then we have a real interesting series. Because, like, the only way the Celtics have a chance is, like, if they all play well and you get that real, like, gritty, I hate to use cliches, but, like, that team effort, like, then it's going to be a real fascinating
series. The Celtics
series.
do seem like a team that, and I've said this before when we're on here, that I feel more comfortable when they're in that role of an underdog.
Yeah.
Like, I feel better about just their ability to bring the energy, especially at the beginning games, because that was an issue versus Washington. And I'm not saying it's directly related to the fact that they were kind of expected to win that series, even though it was somewhat of a toss-up. But I just think that mentality maybe creeps in a little bit, whereas now it's like it really is an us against the world thing. Because there's literally nobody picking the Celtics. And also, I do think that they have some, certain ingredients that can kind of be a pain for Cleveland. I mean, they got great perimeter defenders. I think they have certain guys you can mix and match and maybe make life a little bit difficult for LeBron, make the supporting cast beat you. So, yeah, there are some things that, as a Celtics fan, you can point to and say, all right, they do this, they can steal a couple games.
They have beat the Cavs this year, too. So,
right.
I mean, granted, it was a short-handed Cavs team, but, they've done it before. They did it last year, Who knows? Stranger things have happened, I guess. Did you bring anything for show and tell this week?
I did, yeah.
What'd you bring?
Shockingly enough, I brought a car. And this car says, I love New York.
Sure.
I heart New York, actually.
It's implied.
Yeah, but we're gonna go to the Big Apple, and I want to just talk about Derek Jeter's number retirement ceremony.
Let's do this, yeah.
I got a couple things that I want to get off my chest, and I know this is a topic that's kind of near and dear to your heart as well. First of all, the whole retiring numbers thing, I'm getting real sick and tired of it. I mean, it's pretty much, this is a guy that deserves to, there you go, deserves to have his number retired. So this isn't a Jeter problem. It's just an overall problem in sports with retiring too many numbers. At some point, we're going to have to start activating numbers. I mean, we go to triple digits, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no mathematician, but you're going to run out sooner or later, just like as you mentioned the other day.
Not to get too morbid, but
no, we're getting morbid.
This is kind of something I've thought about before. I
mean, obviously yours is going to take a little longer to get to that point.
I live relatively close to a cemetery, and it's kind of the same idea. Work with me here.
Yeah.
I've wondered at times in my life, what happens when we run out of room to bury people?
You start
It's not as easy as just, I guess you cremate everybody. But it's the same thing. What happens when you run out of numbers? You got to find new ways to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, now it seems like the Yankees in particular, kind of ties into the Celtics, who we talked about at length too. You start working backwards. Give out number 99 is Aaron Judge. Start working backwards from there, and eventually.
Oh, the fact that the Celtics and Yankees both have 99s on their team pretty much says it all.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So I'm sick of that whole thing. Another layer of the whole Jeter retirement thing that I just found to be just downright awesome. It's so drama-filled New York is A-Rod not going to the ceremony, instead going out to dinner with his new lady friend, J-Lo. I like it. Great move on his part. I would do the same exact thing if I was him. And I also love that rivalry. It's one of these things where there's so much tension there, but neither one of them will kind of acknowledge it. But it lasted for 12 years.
I know.
They shared a clubhouse for 12 years. Usually these things are, you have a little rift and eventually you part ways one way or another. Somebody goes, whatever. 12 years! Yeah. What a decade these guys are together. And it's still, after all these years, that little bit of tension. That interview that they did a few weeks ago or a month ago, whatever it was just awesome.
Makes you go back
to
the trade. They bring over Alex Rodriguez, who was the best player in baseball, best shortstop in baseball. Jeter would move to third for him.
Yeah, it started early, right out of the gate. I love that. So I love the fact that A-Rod came out and he had some Mother's Day thing. Whatever. You could have been there if you wanted to be there. Clearly, you didn't want to be there. And I just think that's awesome. Keep the rivalry going.
And it also doesn't seem
sell
like,
out.
and maybe I'm misspeaking here, it doesn't seem like Jeter had a lot of friends. Not to really get off the beat.
It's one of these things where you don't know. He could be a huge jerk behind closed doors.
I think he probably was.
What the hell do I know? That's why I
cast aspersions and say something that I have no idea what I'm talking about. But he might have been a jerk.
Yeah, but there are also a lot of times when somebody just assumes that somebody else is a good guy and they have nothing to back that up either. So why can't we assume
that's true.
Take a contrary stance here?
So go hang out with J-Lo, A-Rod. Nothing wrong with that. And there it goes.
What do you got?
For my show and tell, a little bit different. I didn't actually bring anything, but I need my pal Andre Kachaturian to hook me up and put this up. We got this.
He's real quick on the trigger when he has his 2 cents to throw in.
Yeah, I'm using a photo. Let's just pretend that I'm holding this photo, and that's my my show and tell. This is from Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals in the Stanley Cup playoffs in Nashville. Nashville, I don't know if you know, is a hockey hotbed now. This place is legit. This 2 members of the Tennessee Titans offensive line, they've got a big thing where they cut to those guys before the game. Marcus Mariota was there. Excuse me, the offensive line was there. You see, one of them's holding a fish like it's Simba from The Lion King. The other guy in the background has removed his jersey, is holding a crushed bottle of Bud Light, or a crushed can of Bud Light, a tall boy,
a lot of foam coming right there.
Well, that's because as part of this is actually after the camera cut away, apparently, because when I was watching it, all of them were wearing shirts still. But they cut away after these guys just took tall boys and just crushed them while the camera was on them. It was fantastic. Great scene pregame, other than the fact that they had an Australian guy sing the American national anthem in Nashville, at a hockey game, which is kind of like a lot of different things going on. Keith Urban sang it. Seems like just an awesome
let's not
atmosphere.
discredit the bald gentleman in the back overlooking this whole thing.
Gollum from Lord of the Rings is
he
behind him, keeping his
Yoda,
eye
maybe?
on My Precious. Sure. Predators, first team in NHL history.
I was very upset that you made fun of the bald dude in the background because he has a brain too.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't make fun of him. I just said don't overlook him.
He says you guys are mean.
Yeah, whatever. That's fine.
But I've been called worse.
Yeah, no kidding. And God bless him. He was there to enjoy a great hockey game. Predators came from behind and won. First team 20 years to win 10 consecutive home playoff games. I don't care what anybody says. Like I'm somebody who's been to Nashville a couple times. I really enjoy the city. Happy to see what's going on down there. I think this is a notch in Gary Bettman's belt. A place like Nashville has turned into a hockey city.
Yep.
You watch those games, I don't think you can die. People are saying it's the loudest building in the NHL. Nashville, Tennessee.
It looks it. I mean,
crazy.
It's one of those places when you watch a game, it jumps off the screen a little bit because of how crazy it is. I'm excited. I'm going to Nashville in July. I know you've been there. You speak very highly of it.
I love it. It's good.
So yeah, I'm excited.
And it's going to be really
cool.
cool.
To a game, obviously.
They're 2 games away from getting to the Cup final. I can't just imagine too, like a Stanley Cup parade down the streets of Nashville would be insane. So pulling for the Preds, I think it's a really cool story. Before we get out of here,
different.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Predictions of the week. You want to go first?
So there's been a lot of talk about Colin Kaepernick for months now, really. And now it's heating up that, potentially the Seattle Seahawks could sign him. So my prediction is that he will sign, just not with the Seahawks. Okay. I think that some other team's going to take notice of this interest or whatever it may be. Some team that needs a quarterback, obviously more than Seattle, and that they're eventually going to, somebody's going to finally pull the trigger and bring this guy in. I think it's pretty clear that he's better than a lot of guys that are employed right now. Maybe somebody like Jacksonville, or like you have a situation where your starting quarterback sucks and you need a pretty good backup. I don't know who it's going to be. I just think he's going to sign with a team that's not the Seattle Seahawks.
Sure. For mine, I'm going to stick with NFL quarterbacks. Gisele Bundchen. She's famous. She also has a famous husband. Famous husband of Tom Brady is Tom Brady.
Oh.
Bundchen went on CBS this morning. That's the show, and not this morning. And she said, talking about Brady, he had a concussion last year. He does have concussions. Like, we don't talk about it, but he does have concussions. And I don't know if there's something lost in translation here, because that's not her first language. Yep. But I think that this, on the surface, seems like a big story, but I just have a feeling this is going to blow over. And I don't know why, because there's potential shady business here. And with the Patriots, when there's shady business, nothing goes by. Nothing gets swept under the rug, but for whatever reason, I feel like this will. I just feel like nobody really wants to talk about this. It's awkward. I think maybe they just blame it on the Super Bowl. He took a weird hit in the Super Bowl. I don't know. I just see this story going away quicker than it probably should. But it is a very interesting story. Tom Brady, concussions. Yeah. Like, no kidding. He plays football for a living.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this.
I don't either.
I don't think it's...
That's why I'm just saying, I don't think a lot of people will. I think it's just kind of going to go away.
Because to me, it also sounds like one of those instances where kind of... You say something, and it's just you're not really thinking about it too much.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, he came home, he had his bell rung, whatever. And now with not really in the moment taking stock of how much of an issue concussions are in the NFL and things like that. I don't think she maybe expected it to have some huge ripple effect. I don't know. I mean, I think she's pretty smart, savvy. So I would like to think that she knew that this would cause somewhat of an uproar, but I don't know. When I first heard it, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I didn't think of it as much of it as maybe some other people did, or maybe I should have.
Sadly, I just thought, no kidding. Like,
yeah, which is
NFL player.
Which I guess that's an issue. I don't know.
Can't make the brain pliable though. That's it. We're going. We're gonna leave. I'm hungry.
Yeah, I'm starving.
Let's get out of here. It's been NESN Around. Thanks for joining us. See you guys next week.